So they've been revealing a lot of the cast for the upcoming Life is Strange TV series, and truthfully I haven't been paying much attention to it or people's reactions, but that changed for me last week when I came across a post on Reddit talking about the casting for Warren Graham and Kate Marsh, and how they were race swapped. And my initial reaction? I want to say I was surprised, but I had also already saw that they casted Raul Castillo as David Madsen, and Raul is Latino, so it was clear that they weren't shying away from doing that. Needless to say, the Life is Strange community has been very opinionated on these casting choices. And normally this isn't something I would touch simply because a lot of time when it comes to the whole race swapping thing with characters, it usually just boils down to white people having a problem with it because they're racist, and people of color having a problem with it because it can come across as cheap and inauthentic. Me being a black guy, I'm sure you can deduce which camp I usually fall under. However, with this particular case, I feel like there's a bit more of a nuanced conversation to be had, and I really just wanted to put my thoughts on the matter out there. So, fun fact about me, my favorite book is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. And in that book, the main character Wade is described as being overweight. This descriptor is key because it's a result of Wade's lifestyle and a primary motivator for him to spend so much time in the Oasis, existing inside of a body that isn't his own. Which also plays heavily into the central themes of the book, those being about the dangers of escapism and how too much of it can skew your view of reality. So naturally, I was disappointed when they removed that aspect of the character's appearance when it came to the movie. I mean, the guy they casted is still a pretty regular, nerdy looking dude, but he's also pretty fit. It mildly annoyed me because the character's physical appearance is an important part of not only the character and their motivations, but the overall story being told. When that aspect was removed, the story didn't gain anything, it lost something. A lot of the time with race swapping, particularly when a white character becomes a person of color, people act as though something was lost. But I don't personally think so. The only thing lost really is the quote-unquote accurate one-to-one representation of that character, which is important for some people, I get it. I'm usually pretty lax when it comes to this stuff, but even I had a moment when Mahershala Ali was rumored to be playing Joel in The Last of Us some years back. And I really like Mahershala, I think he's a brilliant actor, but he ain't my Joel. And even though I think Pedro Pascal was great in the role, he ain't my Joel either. You know who is my Joel? Troy Baker. Which is why, had Mahershala actually been cast, him simply not looking like Joel wouldn't have been the reason for me to be upset, because Joel being white isn't really an integral part of that character. However, the minute you change that about him is the minute that it becomes that. Because a person's racial identity, much like their gender identity and sexual orientation, plays a role in who they are as an individual and how they view the world around them. Whether big or small, that's pretty much undeniable. I'm gonna get a bit personal with you guys here for a minute. I've been called an Oreo numerous times in my life. You know, white on the inside, black on the outside, in case you're unfamiliar with what that term means in this context. So while to some I may not conform to the quote-unquote usual standard of blackness, guess what? That didn't matter to the mall security guards who racially profiled me back in high school. Regardless of what any one person thinks of me, I am black. Therefore, the world perceives me as such and it responds accordingly. There's no reason why the exact same thing shouldn't apply to fictional characters. That's the problem when it comes to race swaps most of the time. They get to check off a box without actually putting in the work to sincerely represent people of color with said character. And that's my main concern when it comes to this casting for Life is Strange, where the casting calls racially ambiguous and these are the actors who just happen to book the role? Or are they going to touch on something deeper with these characters now that something so pertinent to who they are has been changed? With this being Life is Strange, I would love to bank on the latter, but this is also the entertainment industry we're talking about here. I feel like most can agree that Warren's portrayal is pretty low stakes. I think they can certainly get away with doing absolutely nothing major story-wise and it'll be okay. Like, the only thing I could potentially see them touching on with Warren is him being a person of color in STEM, but Life is Strange has so much other stuff going on that I don't think there's much room for that. I still think, however, that Faly Rakotohavana's cultural background should still bleed into his version of the character to some degree, but I'm really not worried about him too much. I actually looked up an interview he did and the dude sounds just like Warren from the game. It's crazy. I think that probably influences casting more than anything, to be honest. It can't be a coincidence. Now, Mia Isaac as Kate Marsh is the big one, because with her, it gets a bit more complicated. While Kate being white doesn't have much bearing on her story or what happens to her, like I said before, that changes when her race does. Because a black woman being bullied and harassed by security and other students now has that added layer to it. Not to mention the fact that what was done to Kate was done by a member of a wealthy, influential white family. So while in the game this is all rooted in misogyny, there's no way they can not touch on racism at least a little bit in all this, because then they would no longer be doing Kate's story justice in my opinion. But then there's the flip side to all this, as casting a black woman in such a role can only wind up perpetuating black trauma in media, whether that be intentional or not. This is hard, man. Look, I personally like that they're diversifying the cast a bit for the show because as much as I love the first Life is Strange, I do wish that the game featured more people of color who weren't just relegated to being background characters, especially when you consider how much all the games after improved on this with characters like Sean and Daniel, Gabe and Alex, Charlotte, Moses, Safi. Inclusivity is such a huge part of the Life is Strange franchise and why fans connect with it so much. Full transparency, I'm not part of the LGBTQ+ community, but as a person of color who's into the arts, these games have a way of making me feel seen as well. I just really hope that effect can also carry over into the TV series, but we're just going to have to wait and see. I think it's important for us fans of the game to remain open-minded and remember that the game will always be the definitive way to experience this story, no matter what happens. So engage with the show, have your opinions, have your critiques, but let's try not to get mad. It's a TV show, it's going to differ from the game. Just be sure to keep that in mind. But at the end of the day, I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. I'm just a guy with an opinion, and now I want to hear yours. How do you feel about the casting? Not just what I talked about in this video, but all of it. I just want to know what you guys think. On the off chance that this video does gain some traction, let's please try and keep it civil down in the comments. I know how heated these topics can get, which is why I wanted to try and be as level-headed as possible with this video, okay? Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and consider subscribing if you're new. I usually make video essays, but I've been experimenting with more chill, laid-back videos like this here lately. Although I am still working on my script for a Life is Strange reunion critique. My plan was to have that thing done back in April, but I took a bit of a break from it and I only recently picked it back up. I would love to have it done by the end of this month, you know, with it being Pride and everything, but I just don't know right now, so I'm not going to put a timeline on it. I know Kyle just recently dropped his reunion video, which kind of intimidates me a little bit. I haven't watched it myself though. I actually haven't looked at anybody's review on it because I want my thoughts to be as authentically mine as possible, so I gotta get that done. But let me shut up, I'm just rambling at this point, so I guess I'll let you go. That's all from me, and until next time, I'll catch you guys later.